Pakistan and Bangladesh bhai over T20 World Cup boycott in Lahore. Bangladesh Cricket Board President Aminul Islam is in Pakistan for a crucial ICC meet on India match boycott. A key huddle was held between Bangladesh Cricket Board Chief Aminul Islam, Pakistan Cricket Board Chief Mohsin Naqvi and the International Cricket Council in Lahore. PCB Chairman Mohsin Naqvi met ICC Deputy Chairman Imran Khwaja at Lahore's Gaddafi Stadium to discuss Pakistan's decision to skip its T20 World Cup 2026 match against India. Now, this key huddle is being held, signaling efforts to end India-Pakistan World Cup impasse. Soon, Pakistan Cricket Board Chief Mohsin Naqvi is likely to do a press briefing to clarify Pakistan government's official stand in the next few hours after holding an official Pakistan government and Pakistan Cricket Board meeting. Remember, Pakistan wrote to ICC invoking force measure involving government instructions as reason to not play against India. However, ICC has questioned Pakistan the basis on which force measure be revoked and that a valid reason be given. ICC has also reminded Pakistan of potential sanctions it could face if it decided on boycotting. It was after this that a key ICC Pakistan huddle was held in Lahore, along with Bangladesh also in participation. My colleague Nikhil Nas continues to stay with us. Nikhil, the Pakistan Cricket Board had cited force measure to be invoked in this case, which was denied by the ICC. ICC sought explanation as to why this should be invoked, as the Pakistan Cricket Board had simply cited its government's tweet. Is that enough?
That's definitely not enough. And I think this is the crux of the issue here, Anjali. I think this is why you had a situation where all parties sat together, because what was happening a week ago, the situation was same. ICC did want to have a dialogue, but what you were hearing from the Pakistan Cricket Board and Pakistan in general, that nothing doing, we're not going back. You not only had an official statement put out on social media by the government, you also had the Prime Minister of Pakistan in the assembly mention it in as many words that we have decided we're not going to be playing India in the World Cup. So from that stance, to be ready to engage with the ICC, have a meeting on Zoom, and then have a meeting in person, and now saying that we'll go back to our government, what does that tell you? I think the core of the matter is the contract that you mentioned. So Pakistan, when they took that call, they had, is what we believe, they had consulted legal experts, and they were told, or I would say they were misinformed in that sense, that, listen, there is something called the force majeure, which then will allow you to wriggle out of that contract without many liabilities. And when this is the written communication that happened between ICC and PCB, ICC then made them realize that, listen, if you are relying on force majeure in this case, let us remind you, this may have happened in the past, this may have benefited a few countries in the past, but their circumstances are very different to where you are right now. In those cases, there may have been security concerns or some, a natural calamity. Those are the areas where force majeure can be invoked. But in your case, you do not have a security concern. There is no other concern involving you. You are standing down at that game because of a third party in Bangladesh, and that might not be a good reason for us to invoke force majeure. What this will result will be in some very heavy sanctions that will come down the way of Pakistan, whether there'll be financial sanctions, whether there'll be sanctions in terms of, players being allowed to play bilateral series or players being allowed to play PSL, all players from different countries. I think this is where realization really hit home to Pakistan, that maybe the thing that we were bargaining on or the thing that we were relying on may not hold water going forward. So I think that's where, they did a double take on it. That's where they were ready to engage in conversations. And now I think you're standing at a point where a solution is going to be in sight. As I said, once they say that we're going to the government, you pretty much know it is the government saying we're going to the government, because Mohsin Naqvi wears two hats. He's the head of PCB and also the interior minister. So when he says I'm going to the government, he's essentially going to be going to himself, and then they will, take a call. And I think this is indication. And now that in the next 24 hours they're going to have a press conference and address the issue, all indications are there is going to be a U-turn, and on the 15th you will have an India-Pakistan game.
All right, Nikhil, thank you so much for all those details. All eyes now on the decision that is likely to come out in the next 24 hours. And as my colleague Nikhil Naz was mentioning, that there's a high possibility that there could be a U-turn by the Pakistan Cricket Board. But if at all the Pakistan Cricket Board stays firm on its decision to boycott the match against India, what could be the price that the Pakistan Cricket Board will have to pay for this boycott? Let's understand. So the Pakistan Cricket Board stares at massive financial losses due to this boycott. So the PCB relies heavily on ICC revenues to run domestic and international cricket, and a boycott risks cutting off a major chunk of this income stream. Now, Pakistan's share in ICC financial cycle 2024 to 27 stands at $144 million. Now, under the current ICC cycle, Pakistan is entitled to around $144 million in total. This amount supports player payments, infrastructure, and also grassroots cricket. Now, the payout rate of $38 million will be imposed, distributed to PCB annually. PCB receives roughly $38 million every year from ICC distributions, and missing tournaments can directly reduce or suspend these annual payouts. PCB could also face losses up to 40 billion Pakistan rupee. Losses include forfeited ICC money, sponsorship fallout, and also broadcast revenue hits. Such a figure would severely strain Pakistan Cricket Board's budget and also its operations. Now, the ICC and the broadcasters may impose heavy penalties and also seek compensation from the PCB. So the ICC and the media partners could demand compensation for breach of agreements or in a case of boycott, and legal penalties and future revenue cuts could also follow Pakistan's withdrawal. So this is the price that the Pakistan Cricket Board will have to pay for boycotting the match against India.